If it feels like it's too good to be true, then it is. And I can't stress this enough. If there was something out there that allowed us to lose weight rapidly, maintain muscle mass, change our mindset around our bodies and our reflection in the mirror, then that would be wonderful. But there's not. Before we get into today's episode, I want to make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel. Also, if you don't want to miss any content that's being dropped, make sure you hit that notification bell as well. I also want to know who are the people you want to hear from on this show and what topics would you like me to continue to cover. Thank you so much for your continued support. Now, let's get into the episode. Are you absolutely just frustrated going from one diet to the next? Maybe you've tried every single diet but keep gaining the weight back. If so, welcome to the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about the 3 lies that keep you in the yo-yo diet cycle. Yes, we're going psychological. So if you are ready, listen up and lean in as I elevate your mind. Welcome, everyone, to another awesome episode today. If you're watching on YouTube, you're going to see I am alone in the studio. And I have some unfortunate news. Coach Amanda is stepping away from the mindset of matter, and thus the podcast, as the podcast and the business kind of go hand in hand. She is, just feeling like she's being pulled in a lot of different directions and wants to step away, have time with her family, be able to do her other job, which is audiology, and kind of figure out what coaching looks like for her, which obviously we support. It's definitely a blow, especially for you listeners, because you have engaged with us and grown with us over this past year. But I want to tell you that I have a game plan because I want to ensure that you get everything that you expect from this podcast. My goal is to have kind of a squad of hosts, we'll say, that kind of come in and out, each person having their own specialty, like naturopathic specialty, pre and postnatal specialty, hormonals, etc. So those coaches will kind of come in and out. We'll call them the squad, and I will be your host moving forward. So yeah, we have to pivot. We have to transition. You should continue to expect to get the same quality of content and goofiness from this podcast. For those of you who are new to this podcast, I'm going to start off my episodes just talking about life because I want you to get to know me. I want you to hear my team, my drama, my dog situations, all the things. So if you do not want to hear about my life, please go to the show notes and look at where I'd start talking about our subject of the day. So with that said, can I tell you guys, I had a graduation party at my house this weekend. And I remember being in high school and thinking like the seniors in high school were like so mature and so cool. And I'm just looking at these kids and it was kind of crazy because like half of them look like adults and half of them look like literal children. And I'm just watching them. And let me tell you, okay, so my niece, I call her my niece, is my best friend's daughter. Obviously, I've been in her life her whole life. She is who we threw the party for. Her mom did all of the work. Her mom is such a badass. She's such a hardworking mom. It's nutty to watch her, like single mom, 2 daughters, like busting her ass, boss, working every day. Like, love her. Shout out to you, Angel. So she wanted to have this like soda stand. So we had like a bar cart at our house. So there was all these different syrups, and you people out there might know this if you have teenagers. So all these different syrups, most of them like full sugar syrups. So like the ones you would get if you were to get like a coffee or something. So yeah, like raspberry and lime and coconut and whatever. Then we had Sprite, Poppies, Coca-Cola, Red Bull. And y'all, these kids had multiples of these drinks. And I was like, what the heck? There's so much sugar in these drinks. But of course, that's the way my mind thinks. But I took one aside. I was like, so what's the deal with this? She's like, it's just a fun way to, zhuzh up your drink. And I was like, okay, I get it. And it reminds me of like Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, which apparently drops this week. I will keep you updated on it. How they go through like swig here in Arizona. They have swig now too. I just can't, like, in my brain, like drinking my calories like that and having all of that sugar at once. Like, I'd rather eat something sugary. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather have like a piece of cake or something like that. So that was really interesting. But it was a really great party. And it's just kind of crazy to see what was this little gal grow up to be this beautiful woman now graduating high school. But yeah, let me know if you've been like keyed in on this whole soda craze. I obviously have not. Then, okay, so this is fun too. So, I've talked about how I've thrown parties in the past. I love to throw a party. I love to have a big spread. I love a theme. I love all of the things. So I I helped Angel. Now Angel obviously has her own, like, her and Amory, who's my niece, they had their vision. So I'm just there to help. And Mark was there to help, like setting up the backyard. And we created this like backdrop for photos. And I have a Cricut machine. So I did like a sign for the front yard and we're doing all the things. Mark and I were exhausted by the end of the day. And he goes, I think the reason why we're so exhausted is normally when we have parties, there's alcohol involved and there was no alcohol involved. So we're not like chill. We're actually feeling all the feels that we normally would not feel with alcohol. Cause yes, I'm still on my sober train. So it was very interesting to see how freaking tired I was after this party. Again, it was a great time and I was very, very excited to do it for them. Another thing, I think I told you guys how I like completely redid my living room. I found the sickest table. I will have to put a picture up. For those of you who are new, my house is very mid-century modern. If you've seen it in the background of like my Instagrams, like glass obviously, windows all over the front. We have beams. It's just very, very mid-century modern. And my husband and I were walking our dogs and there was a yard sale. So I went by and this couch, which is very mid-century too, was there, as well as these sick ass shelves. So then I got this hair up my ass that, oh, now I have these new shelves. I have this new couch, which is in my office. I need to redo the whole living room. So that is happening and it looks so good. I'm so, so happy. Very, very happy for it. So I'm a Facebook marketplace queen, apparently. One of my clients didn't know that was a thing. She was like, wait, what? I can just sell things? I'm like, yes, and buy things too. So we picked up the new table and I absolutely love it. I actually had dinner at the table or breakfast, excuse me, this morning at the table. So big changes around here. Lots of changes. So anyway, speaking of changes, we constantly are in this mindset of wanting to change how we look. Now, obviously, diet culture is a multi-billion-dollar industry that says, yes, you should change how you look because if you don't, you are not going to be confident. You'll only be happy when you're thin. And in an effort to do that, you need to do it in very extreme measures. And these extremes alone, as you guys have already heard on podcasts before, are what actually causes us to be in the yo-yo diet cycle. However, I think that there's really specific lies that we tell ourselves about dieting that ultimately keep us stuck in the cycle as well. And so that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. When people talk to me, and it's not my clients obviously are with us to undo all of the stuff I'm going to talk about. But when people on Instagram or friends or whoever are like, I'm going to try this diet because I did it before and I lost weight. Now, obviously, trying a diet again tells me that it wasn't sustainable. So it actually didn't work for you. And that's lie number one. Lie number one is I just need to find the right diet, right? And so there's this trap that we have that there's this kind of perfect plan, this magic pill that is going to get us to the place we want to be. And as you guys know, and maybe you don't know this, but the diet industry, whether it's keto, paleo, intermittent fasting, all of them, all they're doing is putting you into a calorie deficit. And I want to make a point about that because there's research around like intermittent fasting and things of that nature. However, if you're not in a calorie deficit, you're not going to get the added benefit from something like intermittent fasting. It's kind of like big rocks versus little rocks, right? The big rock is a calorie deficit when it comes to weight loss. The little rock is, oh, and then I intermittent fast to pull from my fat stores rather than my muscle or whatever. So I want to keep that in mind. But we also have to recognize that not one single diet, like we'll say it this way, not one single conventional diet is going to change everything for you because you need to eat. Your life and being able to have variety, being able to have pleasurable foods, being able to pivot and be flexible when life gets lifey, that's incredibly important. And that is what is sustainable. Now, when I'm talking about diet, I'm talking about how you feed yourself. And when I say conventional diet, I'm talking about the diets with names on them. The mindset shift here, again, is more of that sustainable change in what I call norms, right? So being able to look at when it comes to nutrition, what can I do? I have a few new clients working with me in our Mindset Method Movement, which is our group coaching program. And I'm looking at their food and I say, okay, let's try and change these one or two things up front. What you didn't hear me say is I'm like completely overhauling their nutrition. I'm saying, okay, for one of them specifically, I said exactly like I was talking about earlier, like, let's not drink your calories. She was having a soft drink or soda at almost every lunch and dinner, as well as like pretty high caloric Starbucks drinks. So the first thing is just kind of pulling that back. Then she pulled that back. She's done really good on that. And then the second thing is pulling back her processed foods. And she's someone who doesn't necessarily like to cook. So we have began to just show her how to eat in fast food, just like grabbing her food. And then we're going to add color. And the color will be easy because we could just add some carrots. We can add cut up cucumber. These are things we don't have to cook. She's just going to add them to her meal. So being able to make these very small, sustainable changes, that comes from habits. It doesn't come from hacks. If it feels like it's too good to be true, then it is, right? If and I can't stress this enough, if there was something out there that allowed us to lose weight rapidly, maintain muscle mass, change our mindset around our bodies and our reflection in the mirror, then that would be wonderful. But there's not. Even like a GLP-1, there's still habits that need to be involved in order for it to be sustainable, right? Really, I want you to think about it as when we are thinking, I just need to find the right diet. I just need to find the right diet. No, I just need to find the right plan for me. I need to find the right way to feed myself. I need to find not only the right way to feed myself, but the way to do it to make me feel energized, to not make me feel deprived. Because as we've talked about in other episodes, like that caloric restriction or deprivation eating is a clear indication, or in research, it has clearly shown that it's going to cause you to obsess over food, hoard food, even when you start eating again, not allow you to feel satisfied or full from food. So again, what it comes down to, and rather instead of finding the right diet or finding the right plan that works for you, starting with very small changes to your nutrition that we can build on. And over time, we will get into that calorie deficit. But for me as a coach, I rarely put people into a calorie deficit right away unless they've had some coaching before and I see that they actually have a foundation under their feet. But majority of the clients coming in, either they don't have a foundation or the foundation is cracked because their foundation is built off of diet industry lies. So we want to make sure that we are, I don't know how you would do this on the foundation, but stabilizing it, leveling it out. And how we do that is kind of bring them back to the basics and back to the norms. Okay. Lie number 2, I just need more willpower. This lie is built on the idea to blame women, and really men too, instead of the system, right? This idea of willpower as if you can't do it and you should be able to do it is only feeding into your insecurities, right? Again, as I had already mentioned, most of the conventional diets with a name are unsustainable, right? And oftentimes very overly restrictive. And again, we don't want that. It's really counter to how you eat as a human. And in our day and age, how we eat as a human in 2025, right? And that is what we want to be aware of. Like, how can I have willpower of something that doesn't meet my lifestyle? It doesn't meet me where I'm at. I'm trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. What we want to do instead is focus on our consistency over time rather than this perfect fail mentality. And the way I like to say it with clients is you have 52 weeks out of the year. If you eat poorly, quote unquote, for let's see, New Year's, your birthday, Easter, Halloween, Christmas, Thanksgiving, anniversary. I know I'm missing some holidays. Maybe you love tacos, Cinco de Mayo. Maybe you love green beer, St. Patty's Day. Like I'm like 8 days of like poor eating in the whole year. I interrupt this episode to bring this month's comment contest. This month, I am giving away a 5-product bundle for Legion Athletic products. Legion is by far my favorite supplement line as they don't have a bunch of junk in their products. Plus, like their protein powder is by far the best tasting on the market. All you have to do is drop a positive comment under this video, maybe a question about the topic at hand, maybe how you relate to the episode. Then you will be put in a drawing for this amazing package that I will draw a name at the end of the month and announce on the show. Now, back to the episode. Now, you're going to have more days than that. But if you think about it that way, you're like, oh yeah, wait a minute. But when people get so like focused on like, no, this is my goal and I need to have willpower through this thing. So I can't possibly do that. That derails my progress. I'm not being perfect when if you're doing it correctly, it should be a lifestyle change, right? And the consistency that we create through the process is how we create that lifestyle change. I like to think if you have your phone and you kind of like not scroll, but zoom out, right? You're looking at it from a long-term perspective rather than that short-term. I can't tell you, I had a client the other day, but the scale's not moving. And while we don't focus solely on the scale moving, I sent a picture of what the progress has looked like since this client started working with me at the beginning of the year. And they go, touche. So sometimes we just need to look at the consistency. And another thing too, I think I might have said this on the last podcast, but this is really an eye-opening example of people who have generational wealth that if after 2 generations, that wealth is down to 50%. And after 3 generations, that wealth is down to 100%, zero, gone. It's gone. And the question was why? It was because you didn't earn it. You didn't earn the money. It was just handed to you. And I thought about that in regards to dieting, that those quick diets that we just have the willpower through and we white knuckle, as I always say, we're not earning anything because we're not paying attention to the process, the steps that got us there. We're not making these big changes in our lives. We're just eating more fat than carbs. Now, yes, there's effort to be put into that, but you guys know what I'm saying. When you start to prove yourself right and you begin to, as I just talked with number 1, create these small sustainable changes, you celebrate every time you make that change consistent, that is going to build true confidence. Confidence is what we want, which is what is going to help us move forward, because confidence tells me I can do hard shit. And the more confident I am, the better I'm going to proceed. Now, a lot of people, and this goes into number 3, is that smaller is always better. And that is when I'm going to feel confident. So I'm going to blend these 2 lies together right now. That is not true. You know that because you've been smaller and you've not been confident. You've wanted to do more and more and more. We have a client right now that is transitioning to me from Coach Amanda who doesn't see herself as good, even with the change on the scale, because she's fixated on the negative parts of her body, right? And so we know that being smaller isn't necessarily going to create this miraculous change, this self-esteem from within, this confidence, right? So the willpower part, take that off. Consistency is what we want. And then celebrating those small wins along the way. Why? Because that's going to build our confidence that we can do this. We are doing this, and gets us out of black and white thinking and helps us feel good. I mean, you're like, yay, me. look what I did this week. I ate a vegetable at each meal. I haven't done that. And I know that all or nothing mindset is going to be like, that's not enough. That's not enough. It's more than if you're not doing it and you know you can do it consistently. So yeah, it's not enough if it's one day, but it's way more than enough when it's one decade. So moving on to number 3, smaller is always better. I'll be more confident when I'm thinner. So society equates worth with your weight. And I wouldn't even say weight with your size, because I'll say both actually, because we think weight on the scale. And oftentimes people have this idea of what like a socially acceptable weight should be. But I tell people how much I weigh and they're like, no fucking way. I'm like, yes, I weigh. I showed a client the other day. I go, I want you to know that's 153 pounds. And she's like, that is insane. She goes, I would 1000% be okay with weighing 150 pounds and looking that way. Right. I'm not saying this to like boost my ego. I think it's really important because it's something I've struggled with. I hated being 150 to 155 pounds solely because of the scale weight. When I fit into a smaller size, I like the way my body looks in clothes. I am incredibly healthy. I've been running like sprints and rowing and doing more metabolic conditioning, and it's wonderful. But I have been that person who's like, but it's still 150. And I've just realized as I've aged, like 150 pounds for me is where my body lives. And what I can do if I want to get smaller, it requires a lot of compromise and change, especially at 42. So, what doesn't require as much compromise and change? Living in maintenance in a slight bulk and weightlifting as hard as I can. Now, that's true for me. But I want you to recognize that no one knows what you weigh. And if there are people in your life that are judging you based on the way you look, then I think it's time to reconsider those relationships. Because if that was true, is that a person you want around in your life? I would guess no. Right. And so that is really, really something I want you to think about. No one knows how much I weigh. And if they're judging me based on my physique, I don't think I want that person in my life. I mean, I sure the hell don't. So, again, the aim here is for health, longevity, strength, energy, and quality of life rather than size. There are so many people who lose decades of their life worried about the way that they look. They lose their quality of life. I have a client that I'm working on perfectionism with. One of my CEUs for my therapy degree is on working with perfectionists because obviously I work with perfectionists. And I was telling her how perfectionism can turn into paralysis, which she's experienced, which ultimately reduces the quality of her life. And it hit her. She said, like, that stung when I heard that because it's true. And if we keep thinking that we're going to be happier when we're smaller, we are going to lose the opportunities to actually be happy. And that comes from everything. I love my walks with Liberty because I love when like a new flower blooms, right? Or last night, Mark and I were sitting on the couch, and like I said, our house has a bunch of windows. And over to the side, I was like, wow, look at the sky. It was like orange and pinks and yellows. If you live in Arizona, you know what I'm talking about. It was so beautiful. Like that happiness, being able to offer my home to my best friend to have this party. And even further, this was a friend that I hadn't spoke with in 3 or 4 years because of a falling out, and being happy that I texted her on her birthday and she responded back. And now we're back to where we were, because not only did I miss out on our friendship, but I missed out on the girls. And so being happy about that. As you can see with all of these, it's really about being accepting, happy, even maybe I like the word accepting, content with where we're at now, right? not where we need to change, not where we need to be, not the diet we need to be on, not this like illusion of willpower. It's where am I now? I am not confident in feeding myself in the way that I need to. So, in an effort to do that, I'm going to make small, sustainable changes that build my confidence. And over time, those changes are going to help me create a consistent lifestyle. That lifestyle is going to help me be healthier, create longevity, focus on things outside of the scale. And the beautiful thing about it is aesthetics will follow. Aesthetics will follow when you do that. I work with individuals where I help them recreate their relationships with their bodies and food while also helping them to lose weight. But we're doing this in a way that's very respectful to the body and the self. And so I want to know which one of these lies you want to kick. Put it in the comments below. And I also want you guys to name our new kind of household of people that are going to sit on this couch with me over time. Now, you're going to get amazing content. And I'm just excited for you guys to get to know me a bit more. Obviously, I share a lot about my life. I don't know who's going to pick up the pieces when I cry. So you might have to do that for me. Just kidding. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Mindset Mirror Connection. Make sure to follow along on anywhere you listen to podcasts. I would love a 5-star rating and review, as well as you to share this with someone who just keeps yo-yo dieting. And you're like, hey, maybe this is the thing that you haven't actually tried that you need to. And other than that, I'm going to leave you the same way I do every week. What you say in the mind, you see in the mirror. Bye-bye.